Hey everyone, it's Matthias. So, there are very few people in this world who genuinely make me starstruck. And the person in this interview, Rob Bell, is one of them. Rob has been really influential in my own spiritual journey because of his ability to kind of take age-old concepts, take scripture, and to hold it in its integrity, but also bring it into everyday life and put new language around it. And you just leave there being like, oh. Wow. He's able to take such simple things and introduce a sense of awe and wonder around them. And that's something that I really appreciate. He just released a new book, How to Be Here, a couple months ago. If you haven't had a chance to read it yet, I would highly recommend going and picking up a copy. It's a pretty quick read, but it's deeply profound. And without further ado, let's jump right into this. Thank you so much for being willing and able to do this today.
My pleasure.
Yeah, it's good to be here with you.
We met, where did we meet?
We met at the 2-day event you did in Laguna last summer.
Got it.
Yeah, which was awesome. I loved it. But yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. So a couple months ago, you released a new book, How to Be Here.
Yes.
For people who haven't read it yet or haven't picked up a copy, would you just want to talk about it a little bit, give a brief summary of what it is?
Yeah, a brief summary. In some senses, there's a question that drives the whole book: is how did this modern world give us so much technology, luxury, options, information, and yet more people express using lots of different images and language this sense that life is passing them by, like they're distracted, like they're skimming the surface of their own existence, like there's almost too much, but it's not the right kind of whatever it's supposed to be. So you have people saying, I'm busy, I'm busy, I'm busy. How are you? Oh, we're so busy. Oh, it's crazy busy. Oh, I know what you mean, which is very different than having a full heart.
Right.
And I think even at a very practical level, the number of people who their cell phone, they both love and hate their cell phone.
Mm-hmm.
They feel like it opens up the world, and yet in some strange way, they're like tethered to it.
Yeah.
Like it's like a new form of slavery.
Right. Yeah.
Like you can tell somebody about Syrian refugees, and they're like, yeah, that's tough. And then they lose their cell phone. They're like, okay, this is an emergency.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I think culturally, or this moment in time, the book is working to give you some very practical ways to think about how to be right here in this moment in your life as it is and nowhere else. It comes out of I had this experience of a concussion that I got water skiing, and I sort of got a tour of my life years ago, and it created this taste in me to live in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
So I won't give that story away, but what I kept noticing over the years is how many people expressed the same frustration, impulse, longing to be more in their life, which at first I thought was just, use your cell phone less.
Right.
But as the years went on, I was like, oh, wait, this is about failure. This is about fear. This is about what gets you up in the morning. This is about outcomes. This is about 1,000 other things.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So as I was reading, I was sitting sitting in the bathtub reading the book, and the part you start talking about like success versus failure, and outcome with life of like complaining about what has happened to us, and then how we can often become victims to our own circumstances instead of kind of taking control over them.
Yes.
And that really resonated with me as like an LGBT Christian. I think so often those of us in our community can kind of look back at our church experiences and wonder, why did this happen to me? Why do I have to go through this? And that was a real point of kind of connection for me.
Right.
And found it really liberating in your message of you get to choose what you do with your life.
Yes.
And I think for LGBT people, like,
absolutely,
that's huge.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that you have more power than you realize.
Mm-hmm.
and perhaps you were misunderstood, criticized, hated, bullied, whatever that is. That's a very real pain that needs to be given expression,
Absolutely.
needs to be talked through, needs to, we all have different healing that we have to go through. But if you blame your lack of joy on that person's nastiness, you have now given that person way more power in your life than they deserve.
Right.
And you're totally right. The number of people who are still angry years later with those people who didn't get them or hurt them, or at some point, I mean, this obviously, the forgiving flow is something we all have to enter into.
Right.
But yeah, the people who, especially with like LGBT issues, the people who inspire you the most are the people who went through shit.
Right.
And decided, I'm going to make something out of even this. And so when people are going through really difficult times, guess what? You might be one of those people who went through really brutal things, and now you get to figure out how to turn that awfulness into something beautiful so you can inspire others.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And that tiny little turn, which is not tiny, but it can feel, what that turn to, I am going to figure out what it looks like to heal from this. And I'm going to take all of that stuff and let it be fuel to go bring goodness into the world. Oh, man. Now you're onto something.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a journey I hope that so many of us will start walking into. Like,
yeah.
Because it's huge. I think that is the key to bringing change
Absolutely
into the world.
Yeah, and it's important also, whether it's church, academics, government, business, human institutions often find a way to get upside down and to crush people. So to single out the church, fine. But it also, human beings, when we form institutions, those institutions tend to can get quite upside down.
Absolutely.
And oppressive. And then secondly, I think it's also important to remember when people talk about, I was really hurt by the church. You can't be hurt by a faceless, nameless institution. You were hurt by people. And oftentimes what happens is somebody has this sense of being wounded, but they don't have a name. They don't have any license plate numbers. You know what I mean? They just have, and that's why they're stuck, is you can only truly forgive when you begin to have names and faces. I mean, you're not angry with that institution. Right. You're angry with those 11 people. You're angry with those 200 people. You're angry with those 3 people.
Right.
And I've discovered countless times when someone got to the point where they could name names, now we start to get some healing. Oh, okay, so those specific people. Okay, great. Now it might take for a long, long time. Let's take steps to set them free. And you'll be set free in the process.
Yeah, that's huge. I think because it is so easy to just blame the institution.
Right. Which is just, and the problem also then is, I know extraordinary spiritual leaders leading communities that have been open and affirming for 25 years.
Right.
That are these incredible safe places that are standing up for peace and justice. And when someone just sort of broad strokes, the church, I think, wait. Do you mean all of the good people doing selfless, kind acts quietly?
Right.
Like I don't think you mean that.
Right.
I think you mean this thing over here. So let's avoid the generalities.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really good. So you talk about, or I think Kristen, your wife, actually talks about this. She talked about this a little bit last summer at the 2-day event. But she had this quote that stuck with me, and I put it on my.
She has a way of doing that.
Yeah, I had it on my bathroom mirror for a long time, and she said, "You'll be criticized for who you are and for who you are not, so you might as well be who you are."
Oh, that's a good one.
Isn't that good?
That is a strong one.
Yeah, and I think your book ties directly into that too, of why are we spending so much of our energy and time trying to catch people up to where we are,
Oh, goodness,
when
right.
we can be using that energy to be moving forward and in acts of creativity,
Yeah.
and I think again that ties in, I think, to the LGBT experience, at least in my life. Of I would spend so much time trying to convince everyone I knew to become on board with me,
Right.
and what I believed, and realize that wasn't going to do anything.
Right, right, right.
And
Yeah.
yeah,
And sometimes it's just ego.
right.
We desperately want, or it's our own projection of our own insecurity.
Mm-hmm.
We're selling them because we're actually trying to sell ourselves. We're
Right.
convincing them because we're trying to convince ourselves.
Exactly.
When it's like, just be who you are.
Right.
And just do your thing.
Mm-hmm.
And just do your work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Well said.
Yeah. And it's
Well said by Kristen.
Well said by Kristen. Yes. Yeah. So good. I say that. Repeat that all the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's the hard part. That's the hard part.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah, I often ask people when it feels like they're sort of getting sort of spinning and stuck. It's simply what's the vision of your life that would most fill you with life and vitality?
Mm-hmm.
What's the work you're here to do?
Mm-hmm.
And what is it that would get you out of bed in the morning?
Yeah.
What is it that you think, oh, I could give myself to that?
Mm-hmm.
And let's go after that, and trust that a number of other things will fall into place.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're here, and you have passion, desire, you have something that can contribute to the larger good.
Right.
So let's explore what that might be and how you could orient your life around that. And let's trust that as you do that, and as you do your own inner work, as you work through your pain, a number of other things will fall into place. But if you're if you're your own PR, never be your own PR.
Right. Yeah.
And trying to convince other people of the legitimacy of what you're doing, or trying to make sure they all know where you're coming from,
Mm-hmm.
it's just an empty exercise.
Right. And it's just endless repetition of that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. And that fullness, I think, is what Jesus calls us into.
Absolutely.
And I think that's a message that a lot of us coming out of very more conservative environments is a message that not many of us have heard.
Oh, wow.
That Jesus
yeah.
calls us into the fullness of who he created us to be.
Absolutely.
And what gives us life is what he delights in. And
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what he talked. I find it fascinating that what Jesus talked about is, I came to bring you like full, abundant, overflowing life.
Right.
That's actually the thing that he kept bringing up.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what we're interested in.
Right.
And lots of people will have insight and guidance from lots of backgrounds and traditions into that.
Mm-hmm.
And Jesus is standing there smiling, going, yeah, of course.
Right.
Yeah. Embrace it.
Right.
Claim it. Affirm it. Right on.
Yeah, absolutely. Mm. Yeah. Well, thank you.
Oh,
so
my
much
pleasure.
for being willing to do this. And I think this
My
is,
pleasure.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
You keep going.
Thank you.
Just keep going.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Beautiful thing. And I'm just noticing some of the books behind you. That's some solid books up there.
There are a lot of good books on this bookshelf. I love it.
Yeah. That's great.
Yeah. Well, hope you have a great day, and
thank you.
Talk to you later. Yeah.
All right. Peace.
Bye-bye. Make sure you go pick up a copy of How to Be Here. It's a beautiful, beautiful book. And go check out Rob's other books. He's on a speaking tour right now promoting the book, so check that out. And be sure to subscribe to my channel too. Y'all have a good day.